A new kind of gold rush has begun in the American Southwest, but this time the prize isn't a precious metal, it's the future itself, powered by a revolution in artificial intelligence. Tech giants are spending trillions of dollars to build the brain of a new world, erecting massive data centers in the middle of the desert. This technological boom promises an era of unprecedented progress. But this digital paradise is being built on a foundation of profound scarcity. There is a dark secret hidden inside every server, a hidden cost for every query you make to a chatbot. This revolution has a desperate physical thirst, and it's drinking from a well that is already running dry. This is the story of a collision between two futures, one of limitless digital intelligence and one of brutal physical limits. What happens when the quest to build an artificial mind consumes the most essential resource for human life? The answer will define the next decade, and the clock is ticking. Before we start, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And now, let's dive in. Chapter 1: The Arid Boom. A new kind of industrial revolution is quietly taking shape. It is powered by the immense promise of artificial intelligence. This technology is rapidly integrating into every part of our lives. It helps us work, create, and communicate in new ways. The financial scale of this transformation is simply staggering. Reports have outlined a future infrastructure plan costing trillions of dollars. This is not a distant, abstract dream. The first phase of this massive project is already underway. The foundation for our digital future is being laid down right now. Its construction requires concrete, steel, and immense natural resources. This ambitious vision is rising from the arid lands of America. Its epicenter is the vast and sun-scorched American Southwest. The initial launch point for this expansion is Texas. While geographically diverse, the state shares a critical vulnerability. It suffers from the same growing water stress as its neighbors. States like Arizona and Nevada face the same difficult future. The entire region is a hot, dry climate with very limited rainfall. Its cities and farms are connected by a shared dependency. They all rely on the same overstressed water systems. The problem is a chronic and severe lack of fresh water. The speed of this industrial pivot is truly unprecedented. The company at the forefront, OpenAI, became a household name almost overnight. Their ChatGPT tool was only released to the public in late 2022. In what feels like a blink of an eye, the world changed. Under the leadership of figures like CEO Sam Altman, the company transitioned. It went from a celebrated research lab to a commercial powerhouse. Backed by billions from partners like Microsoft, their ambition grew exponentially. This rapid leap from software sensation to massive physical construction has no historical parallel. It is a race to build the dominant infrastructure of the future. This incredible demand attracts many powerful corporations. This is not the action of a single company. It is a massive industry-wide strategic shift. Google has been building huge data hubs across the region for years. Microsoft is also rapidly expanding its AI-focused infrastructure here. Cities near Phoenix, like Mesa and Chandler, are now major data hubs. The area around Reno in Nevada is also seeing explosive growth. Meta is investing heavily in data centers throughout the Southwest. This convergence of big tech has created a unique situation. A modern gold rush for data and processing power has begun. The choice of Texas as a starting point is highly strategic. This is fundamentally a story of calculated financial decisions. The goal is maximum growth and market dominance at the lowest possible cost. State governments offer powerful financial incentives and tax breaks. The political climate is famously business-friendly. This means faster approvals and fewer environmental regulations. But there is a deeper reason for choosing Texas right now. The state itself is experiencing a massive economic and cultural boom. It has one of the fastest growing populations in the nation. Major companies are moving their headquarters to cities like Austin. This explosive growth is amplified by a new brand of billionaire ambition. Figures like Elon Musk have made Texas their new personal frontier. His colossal starbase facility is rising from the ground in Boca Chica. SpaceX's ambitious operations create a powerful cultural narrative. It projects an image of bold, risk-taking innovation. This unique atmosphere acts like a magnet for other visionaries. It attracts immense capital investments from around the world. A perception has been forged that Texas is the place where the future is built. This technological gravity is what pulls in monumental projects. OpenAI is building its future on the foundation of this new tech ecosystem. However, there is a profound and dangerous oversight in this strategy. The corporate focus remains fixed on computing power and energy grids. A much more fundamental resource is being dangerously ignored. The American Southwest is already in a state of prolonged water crisis. This is not a new or temporary problem. A historic megadrought has been straining its natural systems for decades. Climate scientists are clear about the severity of this trend. This is the driest period the region has faced in over 1,200 years. The great lifeblood of the Southwest, the Colorado River, is already weak. It has been overused by cities and farms for a century. The nation's largest reservoirs, Lake Mead and Lake Powell, are far below their historic levels. Their shrinking shorelines reveal how much water has been lost. The region also relies on underground aquifers for water. The vast Ogallala Aquifer beneath Texas and other states is being rapidly depleted. This is ancient groundwater that does not naturally refill. Once it is gone for good. Building a profoundly thirsty industry in this exact location is a massive gamble. It creates a direct conflict between digital dreams and a harsh physical reality. The quest for artificial minds is consuming the most essential resource for human life. This situation forces us to confront a difficult dilemma about our future. Progress often comes with a hidden environmental price tag. The benefits of powerful AI are clear, but the costs to local ecosystems are becoming harder to ignore. We must consider the long-term consequences of these decisions. The choices made today will shape the environment for generations. So, we want to ask you a critical question. Who should have the ultimate authority over a region's water supply? Should it be the local communities who depend on it for survival, or the global corporations who promise economic growth? Share your opinion in the comments below. Our team needs your help. Subscribe to our channel to help more people learn the truth about current events. And now we move on. Chapter 2: Digital Thirst. The world of artificial intelligence seems clean and immaterial. It exists in the cloud, a realm of pure data and algorithms. So, how can a digital process have such a real physical thirst? The question is logical, but it ignores a fundamental law of physics. Every action has a reaction, and every computation creates heat. This is the invisible engine driving the AI industry's desperate need for water. This chapter will explain the mechanics of that hidden thirst. Imagine your own personal computer or laptop. When you perform a demanding task, you can hear its fans spin faster. The device grows warm to the touch as it works to cool itself. Now, imagine that same process magnified millions of times over. An AI data center is a massive warehouse filled with thousands of servers. These are not ordinary computers. They are packed with powerful processors called GPUs. These chips run constantly at their maximum capacity, 24 hours a day. They are performing trillions of calculations every single second. This non-stop activity generates an astonishing amount of waste heat. The inside of a data center can quickly become as hot as an oven. Without a constant and powerful cooling system, the servers would overheat. Their performance would slow down dramatically. Eventually, they would suffer catastrophic failure and simply melt down. For the AI industry, heat is the ultimate enemy. It is a direct obstacle to processing power and profit. Defeating this enemy requires a weapon of immense scale. That weapon is fresh water. For cooling on an industrial level, nothing is as cost-effective as water. The primary method used is a century-old process called evaporative cooling. The concept is simple but incredibly powerful. It works much like the human body cooling itself by sweating. Hot water, which has absorbed heat from the servers, is pumped outside. It is moved to massive structures known as cooling towers. Inside these towers, the hot water is allowed to cascade downwards. At the same time, giant fans draw huge volumes of the dry outside air through the falling water. This is where the critical transfer of energy happens. A small portion of the water evaporates into the moving air. This phase change from liquid to vapor absorbs a tremendous amount of heat. This heat is then carried away with the air and released into the atmosphere. The clouds of what looks like steam rising from data centers are this vapor. It is the ghost of billions of liters of consumed fresh water. The remaining water, now significantly cooler, is pumped back into the facility. This cycle repeats endlessly, a constant beating heart of water and heat. The numbers behind this process are difficult to comprehend. Let's start on a small scale. Researchers have estimated that training a single large AI model, like GPT-3, required a shocking amount of water. The cooling process for this one digital task consumed around 700,000 liters. Newer and more powerful models require significantly more data and training time. Their water footprint is therefore even larger. Now consider the daily operation of these models for billions of users. Each complex query and every generated image adds to the total. On the scale of a full data center, the numbers become astronomical. Corporate reports have revealed some of this hidden consumption. Google's data centers in Iowa, for example, used over 4.5 billion liters of water in a single year. It is a quantity that is difficult to truly imagine. Let's try to put that number into a physical context. The average high school swimming pool holds about 375,000 liters. Google's annual consumption for just one site is enough to fill 12,000 of these pools. That is an astonishing amount of water for a digital process. Microsoft admitted that its global water usage jumped by 34% in 1 year. This massive increase directly corresponds with their intensive AI development, that is nearly 6.4 billion liters of water. This volume could fill over 2,500 Olympic-sized swimming pools. It is critical to understand what kind of water is being used. This is not untreated river water. In most cases, data centers connect directly to municipal water grids. They are consuming clean, potable water fit for human consumption. It is the same water that is meant to supply local homes, schools, and hospitals. They are also taking water from groundwater aquifers. This puts them in direct competition with local farmers and communities. The most crucial fact is that this is a consumptive process. When you use water in your home, it goes down the drain. It travels to a treatment plant and is eventually returned to the local river system. The water stays within the local watershed, but the water evaporated by a data center's cooling tower is different. It is effectively lost to the region for good. It enters the vast global atmosphere. It may fall as rain somewhere else on the planet weeks later, but it will not replenish the local river or aquifer it was taken from. It is a one-way ticket out of the ecosystem. The clean and simple interface of a chatbot hides a brute industrial reality. Behind every seamless answer lies a vast, hidden infrastructure. This infrastructure is constantly turning fresh water into waste heat and vapor. The digital revolution is being paid for with a currency of water. And in the arid American Southwest, that currency is becoming dangerously scarce. This brings us to a new and unsettling question about transparency. Knowing that this technology physically consumes a shared natural resource, how much should we be allowed to know? Should tech companies be legally required to report the exact water footprint for every major AI service they offer? Let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. Now, please take a moment to hit that like button. It's a small action, but it helps YouTube's algorithm promote our videos to a wider audience. Chapter 3: The Perfect Storm. The immense thirst of the AI industry is a serious problem on its own, but a problem's true scale is defined by its context. The location and the timing of this industrial boom are what elevate this issue. It is transforming from a manageable challenge into a full-blown crisis. This is not just a story about technology consuming a resource. It is a story about two powerful forces colliding. One is a slow-moving climate disaster. The other is an explosive technological revolution. Their meeting point is the American Southwest. This is the anatomy of a perfect storm. The first front of this storm has been gathering for over 2 decades. The Southwest is currently in the grip of a historic mega drought. This is not a typical dry spell or a temporary lack of rain. Scientific studies of tree rings have confirmed the brutal reality. This is the most severe and prolonged drought in this region in at least 1,200 years. This is not a weather pattern, it is the emergence of a new, hotter and drier climate. This long-term process of aridification was already pushing the region's delicate ecosystems to the absolute brink. The stage for a catastrophe was already set long before the first data center was built. The region's lifeblood has always been the Colorado River. Its journey begins high in the Rocky Mountains. For millennia, the winter snowpack in these mountains has acted as a natural reservoir. This snow would melt slowly in the spring, feeding the river all summer. But due to climate change, this vital snowpack is shrinking. Less snow is falling in the winter, and it is melting earlier in the spring. The very source of the river is weakening, meaning less water enters the system each year. Downstream, this shrinking supply collides with an ever-growing demand. A complex set of laws, known as the Law of the River, was created a century ago. These laws promised more water to the states than the river actually carries. The biggest water rights holder by far is California. This agricultural giant and home to massive cities is also battling its own severe droughts. This makes them highly dependent on their full share from the Colorado. This creates a tense, zero-sum game where states are pitted against each other. The nation's 2 largest reservoirs act as the system's primary savings accounts. Lake Mead and Lake Powell were built to store a surplus of river water. But after decades of drought, these accounts are nearly empty. Both reservoirs have fallen to historically low levels. Other reservoirs in the system, like Lake Havasu and the Flaming Gorge Reservoir, are also under immense strain. The entire water storage system is flashing red warning lights. This has revealed a stark and powerful visual of the crisis. White mineral stains now line the canyon walls high above the water's surface. These infamous bathtub rings are a constant reminder of how much water has been lost. Beneath the ground lies another critical but finite resource. The Ogallala Aquifer is a vast underground reservoir of ancient water. It stretches under 8 states, including the Texas Panhandle. Unlike a river, which is replenished by rain and snow, this aquifer is mostly fossil water. It is a sealed deposit, a remnant of the last ice age. Farmers have been pumping water from it for nearly a century. They are withdrawing this ancient water far faster than it can be naturally replenished. This process has been accurately described as water mining. Once this water is pumped to the surface and used, it is gone forever. Into this fragile and collapsing system, a new force has arrived. The second front of the storm is the AI industrial boom. It is a sudden and incredibly powerful catalyst for consumption. The new data centers are not just another user of water. They are a new class of superconsumer. Their financial power and political influence are enormous. The AI boom is pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. It is a massive accelerant for a disaster already in progress. It is a heavyweight competitor entering a fight over a resource that has already run out. This is the collision at the heart of the perfect storm. A fragile, overdrawn ecosystem is being hit by an insatiable high-tech industry. This creates an impossible dilemma for state and local governments. On one hand, these multi-billion-dollar projects promise jobs and tax revenue. On the other hand, approving these projects means knowingly signing away the last remaining drops of a finite resource. It is a direct choice between short-term economic gain and long-term environmental survival. Here is the most unsettling part of this entire story. The leaders of these technology companies are not ignorant of these facts. The data on the megadrought is public. The falling water levels of Lake Mead are national news. The scientific warnings are clear and unambiguous. Their decision to continue this massive expansion in this specific region is not an oversight. It is a calculated choice. It is a declaration that the strategic advantages of the Southwest outweigh the profound and obvious environmental risks. To understand the scale of this choice, let's look at the numbers. The United States is the undisputed global leader in data infrastructure. It is home to over 3,300 major data centers. A shocking concentration of these facilities, over 600, are located in the core southwestern states of Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. For perspective, this one arid region in the U.S. has more than double the entire data infrastructure of a country like Russia, which has around 250 facilities. And now, the newest, largest, and most water-intensive AI data centers are being built right here, making the concentration even more extreme. This forces a fundamental question about our priorities. When a community faces a choice between attracting a new industry and preserving its water for the future, what is the right path to take? Who should be held responsible when the wells finally run dry? We are interested to hear your perspective in the comments. Share this video on X and Facebook to help us grow. Every share counts. Chapter 4: Battle for Water. The first 3 chapters have outlined the scale of a systemic crisis. We have seen the money, the mechanics, and the environmental collision. But behind the trillions of dollars and billions of liters of water, there is a human cost. The consequences of this arid boom are not abstract. They are being felt right now, on the ground. To understand the true price of this new technological era, it is necessary to look at the lives it is actively disrupting. This is the story of a battle for survival. It is a story of people versus corporations. Consider the farmers of the Southwest, especially in places like central Arizona. For generations, their families have made the desert bloom. They built entire communities around the promise of water from canals and wells. They grew the cotton used in clothing, the alfalfa to feed cattle across the country, and the winter vegetables that stock supermarkets. Their work was a testament to human ingenuity in a harsh landscape. This was the old economy of the West. It was an economy built on land, water, and hard physical labor. That entire way of life is now facing an existential threat. As the megadrought tightens its grip, these farmers are the first to feel the squeeze. When water shortages are declared, their allocations are the first to be cut. The water that once flowed through their irrigation canals is being diverted. Their wells are starting to pump dust instead of water. They are forced to make impossible choices. They leave fields fallow, watching decades of work turn back into barren desert. They sell off their livestock at a loss. This is not just a financial loss for one family. It is an erasure of a community's entire identity and economy. The decline of these farms is more than a rural economic issue. It is a direct threat to the region's food security. These agricultural zones, including California's nearby Imperial Valley, are the nation's primary source for winter vegetables like lettuce and broccoli. They supply the grocery stores in the very cities where data centers are now booming. When these farms disappear, that food must be transported from much farther away. This increases food prices for everyone and makes the entire supply chain more fragile. In a dangerous bargain, the cities of the Southwest are sacrificing their local food supply for data processing power. Now, look at the residents of these same sprawling cities. In the suburbs of Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City, a new reality has set in. Citizens are bombarded with messages about extreme conservation. Water bills have been rising steadily, putting a strain on family budgets. These rising utility costs disproportionately affect lower-income families. Strict regulations govern every aspect of their water use. There are assigned days for watering lawns. Filling a private swimming pool can be a complex and costly process. Entire neighborhoods are now defined by rocks and cacti instead of grass. These sacrifices are framed as a shared community effort to survive the drought. But residents are beginning to see the deep hypocrisy of the situation. They are asked to save every drop. Yet, they can see the giant plumes of water vapor rising from the cooling towers of a new data center on the edge of town. They know that one of these facilities consumes more water in a single day than hundreds of households do in a year. The sacrifices do not feel shared. It feels like one set of rules exists for the public, and a completely different set exists for the powerful new corporate citizens. This growing divide is creating a new form of social inequality. Some have started to call it water apartheid. It is a system where access to the most vital resource for life is not a basic right. Instead, it is a commodity allocated based on wealth and political influence. These outcomes are not accidental. They are the result of intense lobbying and closed-door agreements made with local governments. City councils, desperate for the promise of jobs and a larger tax base, often sign long-term deals. These deals guarantee corporations low water rates for decades to come. This quiet conflict is made worse by a culture of corporate secrecy. Tech companies understand the controversial nature of their water consumption. They often fight vigorously to hide the data from the public. In a famous case in the Dalles, Oregon, Google spent years in legal battles with the local city council. They argued that their water usage numbers were a proprietary trade secret. They claim this data reveals sensitive information that competitors could exploit, but critics argue that water is a shared public resource, not a private commodity. The public's right to know how its most precious resource is being used should take precedence. The human cost of the AI revolution is no longer hypothetical. It is being paid today by the farmers who are losing their heritage and the residents who are losing their food security. The immense profits of this new industry are being subsidized by the depletion of a shared public resource. The progress is real, but so is the price. And that price is not being paid by the tech billionaires or their shareholders. It is being paid by the people of the American Southwest. This leads to a deeply uncomfortable question about the ethics of progress. Is the convenience of a smarter chatbot worth the livelihood of a farming community and the stability of a city's food supply? Should corporations have the right to consume a region's water security in the name of technological advancement? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Chapter 5: Point of No Return. This final chapter is not a prediction, but a conservative forecast based on today's choices. Welcome to the American Southwest in 2035. The region has reached the point of no return, where the damage to its water is permanent. This irreversibility means more than empty rivers. It means sterile soil, extinct species, and the loss of generational knowledge. Daily life for residents in cities like Phoenix has fundamentally changed. Water is a strictly rationed commodity, with pumps running for only a few hours each day. A new water anxiety has become a common mental health issue. Social tensions run high as neighbors report each other for water waste and a black market thrives. Entire suburban developments from the 2020s sit abandoned, modern ghost towns serving as monuments to unsustainable growth. Citywide moratoriums on new housing have been in place for years, stalling all expansion. In stark contrast, the data centers continue to operate. They stand as isolated, heavily secured fortresses of the new economy. Having secured their water rights through deals made decades earlier, they are immune to public rationing. They have adapted with private water treatment plants, creating their own bubbles of stability. For the local population, they are a constant, humming reminder of the choices that led to this crisis, viewed not as symbols of progress, but of historic betrayal. And while this future unfolds in the American Southwest, Other nations are being forced to confront their own environmental limits in a much more direct way. Consider the Netherlands. It is a small, incredibly wealthy and technologically advanced country. It is also one of the world's largest exporters of meat and dairy. For decades, this was seen as a story of incredible efficiency. But today, the country is facing an environmental reckoning. The Dutch government is now planning to spend billions of euros to buy out and close thousands of farms. The reason for this drastic measure goes far beyond their own borders. The problem is the immense, hidden footprint of their livestock industry. To feed its vast herds of cattle, the Netherlands imports colossal amounts of animal feed, particularly soy. A significant portion of this soy comes from Latin America, including Brazil. This demand is a major driver of deforestation in the Amazon and other critical ecosystems. To sustain its domestic industry, the Netherlands effectively outsources its environmental damage. Lush, biodiverse forests are cleared to make way for vast, monotonous fields of soy destined for animal consumption thousands of miles away. But the land is only one part of the equation. The other, invisible part is water. The concept of a virtual water footprint is critical here. An immense amount of fresh water is required to grow these feed crops, often in regions of Brazil that are themselves facing water stress. Every ton of meat or dairy produced in the Netherlands has a hidden water cost paid by the ecosystems of another continent. In essence, the Dutch model was based on importing land and water resources from the rest of the world, while leaving the ecological invoice unpaid. This Dutch example shows one possible path: a painful, forced reckoning with reality. But history far more often shows what happens when that reckoning is ignored. The planet is littered with the ghosts of ecosystems that paid the ultimate price for human overconsumption. This vision of a desiccated future may seem extreme, but it is not a fantasy. Consider Owens Lake in California. A century ago, its river was diverted to fuel the growth of Los Angeles. The lake dried up, and its bed became the largest source of toxic dust pollution in the US, containing arsenic and cadmium. The city of Los Angeles has since been forced to spend over $2 billion on dust mitigation alone. An even more famous warning comes from the Aral Sea in Central Asia. It was once the fourth largest lake on Earth, supporting 60,000 fishing jobs. Soviet planners diverted its two great rivers to grow cotton. Today, the Aral Sea is a toxic desert where ships rust in the sand, and toxic dust storms cause cancer and respiratory disease in the local population. A more damning example is the Colorado River's own delta. The same river at the heart of our story once created a lush wetland where it met the ocean, a habitat for jaguars and vast flocks of birds. Today, the river dies in the sand. A vibrant ecosystem has been turned into a barren salt flat. This is not a prediction. It is a documented outcome of the very water consumption system that is now being supercharged by the AI industry. Some may argue that technology will provide a last-minute rescue. By 2035, new, more efficient cooling methods may exist. This brings us to the final devastating irony. Imagine a person in this future asking the superintelligence for a solution to the water crisis. The AI processes the query, its servers consuming precious water for cooling. It analyzes everything and delivers a perfect multi-stage plan to save the region. The answer is flawless, logical, and completely useless. It has been delivered to a world that no longer has the resources left to implement it. What is the true value of a perfect answer if, in the process of finding it, we destroy the physical world needed to implement that answer? Is the pursuit of ultimate knowledge worth the price of survival? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for exploring the hidden corners of the USA with us. Click on the video you see on the screen to check out other hidden discoveries on our channel.